Welcome to Standing on Business with Eric Foss. I'm your host, Eric Foss. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Standing on Business with Eric Foss. I'm your host, Eric Foss. All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about somebody that a lot of people have heard of. This guy's pretty notorious. A few rumors. We won't get into them rumors about him being made inside of prison and stuff like that, because it could be true, could not be true. You know what I mean? These come from other people. I'll talk about the guy that I knew when I was locked up with him. I'm going to be talking about Vito Guzzo, okay? Let's go into a little bit of history on Vito first, just so you see who he is on the streets, or who they allege he is. Let's do that. Okay, so I pulled up something from Latin Times or something. And okay, this is when Vito Guzzo was trying to get out on compassionate release. He filed this. This will cover his little history. Okay. Here's what the article says. Mafia death squad leader Vito Guzzo, serving 38-year sentence for 5 murders, says he is reformed, wants early release. Mafia death squad leader Vito Guzzo, who is serving a 38-year sentence for 5 bodies in the 1990s, said that he's a changed man and wants early release from jail. In court filing, he described himself as completely rehabilitated, someone who has matured from a rash young man pursuing a lawless lifestyle to a reflective, empathetic, middle-aged adult, according to New York Daily News. He is trying for compassionate release under the First Step Act criminal justice reform bill. It was signed into law by former President Trump in 2018. Okay, so he filed a compassionate release like everybody did, like I did. Mine got shot down as well as his did. Now here's what they said. Gangsterism Out reported that federal prosecutors are not impressed. According to them, multiple government sources says that he was inducted into the Colombo crime family within the past 10 years. At the time, he was a federal prisoner. He was at the federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut. We'll get into the Danbury stuff because that's right as soon as I left, all them guys were going to Danbury. I went home. This was around October of 2013. They had turned Danbury. They started accepting, it used to be a women's prison, but then it's a low security. They started accepting men. So a lot of people started to want to go there, especially all them guys. And an incident happened we'll get into. Assistant United States Attorney James McDonald wrote in filing this month that in joining a notoriously violent criminal enterprise as a made member, which is just a title, Guzzo swore to a lifelong commitment to commit crime to advance the interests of the crime family. He noted that Guzzo promised, among other things, to follow the directions of superiors in the crime family, including to commit unalivings when instructed. McDonald further wrote that in view of the demonstrated history of violence by the inmate, there can be little question that he would follow such instruction if given upon his release. Okay. Guzzo referred to himself as elderly in his request for release. He described his serious injuries from 2 shootings in 1990 and 1996. They left him with the loss of sight in one eye. They also led to a removal of his left lung, a part of his left lung. He said that he fears continual exposure to COVID in prison would make him unalive. Let's get into that. Yeah, Vito's definitely, you can tell something's wrong with Vito's eye. It like hangs over and stuff like that. Like when you meet him, it's kind of scary looking. But I guess that's from the shooting. So let's get down to this. Okay, now this is his history. He copped out to 5 bodies as part of a 1998 guilty plea. He was the leader of the Giannini crew. I hope I didn't mess it up. Giannini. Which is a team of mobsters from several Cosa Nostra families. They used the former Cafe Giannini in Ridgewood as their home base. Wonder if that's one of them cafes with the old man, Tony Aiella, in them. I don't know. It might be one of them cafes that that guy Frank Fortellino talks about on his show. In January 1992, the mob, I guess they say, unaliver, now 57, and his crew, he's 57 when they filed this, and his crew lured pot dealers John Ruisi and Steve Pangozzi to a Queens social club. They forced them to their knees and demanded they reveal where they kept their drugs and cash. Russini and Pagazzi didn't tell Guzzo what he wanted to know, so he shot Ruisi in the head. Another crew member, Anthony Tabetta, did the same thing to Pagazzi. said prosecutors. It's just two guys that did, It was Vito and some other guy, and then two of the victims. Guzzo and his crew put both the victims in a car and burnt it. One of the victims might have still been alive as they burned, said prosecutors. Now, that's bad. About 7 months later, and this is what we want to get into, he fatally shot Gambino associate Ralph Sciullo, who died for not giving the Giannini crew a cut of his drug dealing and fraud money. Now, here's what I wanted to get into. In November of 92, Guzzo orchestrated the shooting of Colombo associates Anthony Messi, Paul Schiavava, and Vincent Riccardo. Guzzo suspected it was Riccardo who had unalived his father in 1987. So Vito's father was unalived, and this was always known. He sought out for revenge, and allegedly, he got it. Okay, well, he pled guilty to it, so he got it. In 1996, October 1996, Tabetta and Guzzo unalived Genovese crime family associate John Borelli. He was dating Guzzo's ex-girlfriend, according to New York News. Now, I hope they didn't unalive him just for that. But, it's all that organized crime stuff. Who knows? All right, so that's a little back history of Vito. Now, what was he like in prison? Okay, when I first found out who he was, because I didn't know who this guy was, it was through my friend Peter Playa. He's in some of them pictures you'll see, like when people put up and all. I heard he passed away. Rest in peace, Peter Playa. Anyway, so that's who I met Vito through, and he had told me all about Vito. He's like, man, this guy's a legend. He's this, he's that, he's this. He told me about the unaliving of the people who unalived his father and just how hard he went and stuff like that. Now, also other people had told me before I got to the compound, the difference between Vito and a lot of the mob dudes is this. Like, I'm not going to say he wants trouble, but he's the first one to raise his hand. There was another one who was like that. Huck's nephew, the kid Tommy, he only had one arm. But listen, this guy would go. So Vito was that guy who would, he'd raise his hand. So he's been in a lot of dust-ups and stuff while he's in the joint. Before I got there, right before I got there, I think he got into one. About 6 months or something before I got there. So anyway, he was the go-to guy at the car. Like if something needed to be done and physically needed to be done, they're going to go to him. And he'd be the first one to volunteer. But anyway, now when you meet him, he's very standoffish. And like I said, he's got a scary type aura to him. What I mean by that is like you get these guys, Kojak is one of them, Vito's one of them, my friend Reggie's one of them. They just gotta, when you really look at these people, hey, pump your brakes. You know what I'm saying? Don't just get out there with these guys. They just got that look, man. Well, anyway, Vito's main thing when we were there, he would come out. He watched the softball games and stuff because I already explained that. I played on the team, our team, and also he loved to work out. Now, when I say work out, he was more into cardio. He's a cardio machine. He was a cardio machine. Vito, the arrangement was this. Ray Argentino would wake up before everybody. He'd come out, so he'd be out there in the morning in the outside weight pile. Ray would grab the bench and the dumbbells and stuff like that. Now, he'd get his workout in. Me and my crew would come up right afterwards. And then Richie Gotti and them guys would be after me, so I'd hold the weights for them. Vito would be up in the yard with us, but the whole time we're doing everything, he's just doing total cardio. That's all he does. He loves to jump rope, too. He loves to jump rope. I'll get into something about me and him with jumping rope. So, anyway, that's how he was. He could run all day long, everything like that. So, but it's very impressive now. I see he only has, part of his lung. But anyway, with the jump rope with me and him, what happened was I was the best in the prison at jump rope. I wanted it to combine. I could jump rope longer than anybody. And, you know what I mean? I could go for a while. So I remember this time, I go out there. I got my rope. Vito's got his rope. Now, we're starting at the same time. He's on this side of the basketball court. I'm on this side of the basketball court. So I'm getting into mine. He's getting into his. So now we're into it. So now we've been going a while. We're past 1,000 skips, because I don't do mine by time. I count the skips in my head. You know what I mean? And then like sometimes I'll go on one leg, whatever, 100 jumps on one, whatever. But anyway, so all of a sudden we like kind of lock eyes, and we both knew it. We were in competition from that point. I'm about 10 years younger than Vito, and so in that time I was in my 30s, late 30s. He was in his late 40s. So I got him, but I'll tell you what, man. When he finally stopped, neither one of us said anything, but eventually he finally stopped, and I was like, I jumped rope for a couple more times to make it look good, and then I stopped, and I was like, whew, thank God he stopped. And I just walked my way, and he walked his way. We didn't say nothing about it for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I'll come out on the yard, him and Pete are sitting there, and we come up, we start talking and stuff like that, and he makes a joke about it. He's like, oh, you think you got me, didn't you? So I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, with the jump rope. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, man. So we talked, we laughed. I told him, I said, man, my legs were cramped up all day. He's like, mine too, man. But he was cool like that, down to earth. Like I said, quiet, but he will strike. And like that's in the joint too. He will fight. There was an incident now that he was involved in that I wasn't there, and this was at Danbury. When they opened Danbury, well, I guess it was always open, but I guess it was just women or something. So it's in Connecticut, and they were opening it for men right around 2013. So when that happens in the BOP, a lot of people will sign up to get out, because a lot of these guys at Schuylkill, such as Vito, Ray Argentina, and these guys, they had been in Schuylkill for a lot of years, and they were already low security, but they didn't want to go to a low because they were already comfortable with Schuylkill, and a lot of the lows are garbage. But this low was going to be like all brand new inmates and stuff. So, you get a lot of perks when you're the first inmates there. So they all signed up. So it was Ray, Vito, a few more of them. And then, from other areas and stuff. So they ship them into Danbury. Well, at the same time they're doing that, the Albanians got a beat on Danbury too. So the Albanians are all getting shipped there. So I don't know what the whole thing was about, but I remember, I think it might have been the old man called me, or somebody, might have been Pete. Pete was still at Schuylkill, or the old man was still at Schuylkill, and they had Ray and Vito and them had already left, and we're at Danbury. There was some type of incident there. I guess what I'll say without even being there is like how I told you when I first got to Big Sandy, and they were moving all kind of people in and people out. Anytime you get that, whatever security, it's going to become a power struggle. So the Albanians had their sights set on Danbury, and so did the Italians. And that's what happened. I guess they clashed. I heard it was pretty, I don't know, they say, you hear back and forth. This one got the better of it, this one got the better of it, this one got this one got that. But I will tell you this. One thing that you will hear is Vito was in the mix. And Vito was involved in that. And he's probably one of them. He's probably one of them guys. I know he's one of them guys, put it that way. If it kicked off like that. He's going to be on the front lines. Vito's a tough dude, man. Now, since he gets out in, 2028, he doesn't even have long, 3 more years, Hopefully they give him a long time at a halfway house, which they should, because he's been, a 38-year bid. He can come home, he can get his life together, and he'll do well, because a lot of people like Vito. A lot of people, I'll tell you the truth, he hung with a lot of younger people. What I mean by that is not like kids or something, but I mean like people 10 years younger than him and stuff, like Greek Teddy, I think was his co-defendant on something, not on his serious stuff, some type of other stuff. But so he's got like younger people who, respect him and look up to him and stuff like that. And when he comes home, people who are in decent positions to help him. So Vito will be okay. If they'd have let him out on a compassionate release, he'd have been okay. He's not, I don't believe going to get into no more trouble or nothing like that. He's got nothing to prove. And as for now at Danbury, the being made part, look, it's just a title, guys. So now I don't know what their rules are, but I do know this. Some gangs, like, the DMI or whatever, where I'm from, this is back in the beginning. You could only become DMI and get made if you were in state prison. Like, you had to have a state prison number. But then that got watered down to being in county jail, and some got brought home on the street. Being brought home means joining the gang, which wasn't originally allowed. You would have to, it was a prison gang, you have to be made in prison. Now, with the mob, Cosa Nostra or whatever, it's the complete opposite. Or it was. You cannot be made in prison. You know, see, now here's the thing, though, that I don't like about the feds. We're going to point out the federal corruption. You see how the feds, when he filed the compassionate release to get out, what's the main thing they said? No, he just got made in federal prison. Here's the deal, though. Just like how come when John Gotti Jr. said that he walked away from life, they said, no, you're not allowed to. The feds said you're not allowed to. That's the rules. Well, guess what, feds? The rules are you can't be made in prison either. So why would you put that in there? You're moving the goalpost for yourself so you could keep Vito in prison. That's what you did. That's what you did. Now, I don't know what the rules are now or whatever, but the original rules are you cannot be made in prison. All them guys know that. Nobody will argue with me on that point. And now, my point is the government had actually used that against him in to fight his compassionate release, and they were actually successful. Like I said, they're all double talk. But then when Gotti Jr. says he walked out of the life, they said, no, you're not allowed to because it's the rules. It don't make sense. But it makes a lot of sense because the feds are dirty. But anyway, yeah, so they denied Vito. As you see, his stuff was, like I said, when you see the one girlfriend thing or whatever, I hope it wasn't like beefing over a chick or whatever. But most likely it wasn't. It's just some, dude might have been dating the same people. We're all friends. We've dated the same girl. And if something happened down the line, you get on live, people might think it's over that. But I don't think it was that. Because if you look at what was said in here, in the article I read, is everybody that he's accused or he pled guilty to hurting or unaliving, they were all criminals too. I'm not saying that just gives them carte blanche to do whatever you want, but that has to be taken into consideration. A lot, they just made him look really bad in there. But anyway, he'll be home. He'll be home in 3 years. Shout out to Vito Guzzo, you know what I mean? Hopefully, man, he comes home and things go great for him. Vito's an alright dude, man, in my book. All right, guys, wrap this up today. Look, I'm being serious about this boxing thing, and I want to do it to a different level, though. So if Dom or anybody's out there listening, I'm going to try to work behind the scenes, and I'll try to get this done. We should use all of us should use our connections and get this done because I think people want to see it. We could put together a card. We could get 5 fights. We could figure something out. eboss443@gmail.com. That's my email. If anybody needs to get in touch with me about doing that. I know I got to respond to one person. I'm going to get to you today. But anyway, guys, like, share, subscribe, and, always remember, stay in old business. All right, guys, I'll see you later.